Hi there. I want to talk about the genius element of the avoid complete drive. Every drive has what I would call this genius component within it. We all talk about, human beings having a genius within them. Sometimes we don't think that way about ourselves. We see what we would think of as genius in others. And I don't mean just intellectual genius, that someone's really bright. I mean when they do things, it could be a variety of things, and you sort of think, wow, that's like a genius talent. And that's what I saw in people. When I first started developing the ID, I of course saw people's natural strengths that aligned to their ID. But as I got more and more experience with ID, I saw that there was this like exceptional factor, what I would call a genius factor. And when I saw it for one drive, I thought, well, I wonder if that's there for the other drives. And of course it was. And not only did it exist for all 8 directions of the 4 drives, but I found that there was what I would call a white belt level of genius and a black belt level. The white belt level was the sort of thing where the person themselves thought that wasn't that big a deal. That was common sense. That was obvious. Anyone could have done that. But actually, not everyone does do it. It's one of those things like common sense where people say, well, it's not so common. Same thing here. When it comes through your drive, it's common to you. It's obvious to you. And it's what you do consistently. But it's not what everyone else would do. Some people might fluke it and do it occasionally, but they won't do it as consistently as you. They won't do it as well as what you do. The black belt level of genius is up a number of notches, and it's where people look at you and sort of go, wow, that's like a psychic ability. I mean, how did you know to do that? That's not something I would do. No one would do it unless they had that particular drive. So I want to talk about those 2 dimensions for the avoid complete drive. And given that the avoid complete drive is all about, figuring things out as you go along and having all of your energy at the start of something and figuring out how to get there rather than having a plan and working the plan all the way through execution. When you think about that for the genius element, for the avoid complete drive, I would say the white belt level is the willingness to have a go, to just like experiment. It's not only the courage to experiment and go where no one's gone before, like being that real pioneer. What happens actually is even if there is a path, you still want to take the pioneering path. But it's that sense of, well, I don't know, I just did it. I just figured this out. I just went along and tried this and tried that. The experimentation, the innovation. At the end of it, you don't necessarily always know what you did. You just got it done and you took the steps through that darkness, just pioneering and trying to get things done. And while other people are standing back, figuring it out, trying to figure out a plan, you're the one who will just think, well, I don't know, I'll just have a go and go in and start doing things. And look at that, it works. Even if each step doesn't quite work, you'll then take the next step and you'll just get there figuring it out. So people stand back and look at you and think, how did you know to do that? And you're like, I don't know, I didn't. I just did it. I sort of just took the next step. And by doing that, you start to get things done. So that's what I'd call the white belt level. If we ramp that up a few notches, what's the black belt level? What I observe is that when everyone knows that there's a transformation that needs to occur, and even if there's a plan for the transformation, but there's trepidation around taking the steps. And I mean taking ultimately the step, like the cornerstone step that provokes change that's irrevocable or irreversible. It's like you can start a game plan of change, but you can always then withdraw. And it's the avoid complete person who will just ruffle those feathers or provoke the change or do or say the thing that takes you past the point of no return. It's this courage, but it's beyond courage. It's sort of almost knowing, but it's not knowing, it's instinctive, of doing that thing that makes the change right over the edge, so you can't come back now. It's an irreversible change. And it doesn't mean that you have to do 50 things or that you have to stay with it for a long journey. It's almost saying of all those pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that we could push or play with that's going to get the change, I'm going to touch that one because that piece makes it an irreversible change. And then the transformation occurs. And people can look around you and think, how did you know to do that thing? I mean, that was like brilliant the way you said that, the way you did that. And it wasn't pretty. It might have been really ugly. It might have been pretty as well. But typically change does have a certain ugliness about it because it's unexpected. It's over the top. It seems like overwhelming even at times when you make that change happen. But you know what? If you didn't do it, it would have been gradual, it would have been incremental, and it might have been a slight adjustment, but it wouldn't have been the real change that could have only have happened if you made the provocative step or took the provocative step that you did. Trust that you have this ability, this genius factor within you to not only make the change, but to even know what to do, what to say, to provoke it in the first place. Have the confidence that it's within you. Know that it's something unique to you. Know it's something that in the group of people, it's probably what you're going to bring to the table that makes a difference. Own it, have the confidence in it, and use it. It's how you make your mark on the world.